Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. So good to have you here. This is a special ASMR edition of The Joy of Coding where I'm going to try and speak soothingly like this. And I've got my hood up. Maybe that'll be nice and soothing. And I'll be, nice and close to the microphone like this. And we're going to be working on some, really calm, straightforward documentation migration today. So hopefully you find that interesting. Let's get started. Holy smokes, there's no sound? My apologies. Hold on just 1 second. Sorry about that, folks. A small hiccup with the OBS setup there. I apologize. There was a, nice. Yeah, it wasn't meant to be so soothing where we just kind of got crickets and silence. So I hope that wasn't too disruptive. I just wanted to let you know that the agenda is available to you if this is something that you're interested in clicking links on. So go ahead and check out the video description on YouTube or the details section on Air Mozilla, or for the folks on Twitch, here's the episode agenda right there. The first thing I wanted to quickly talk about before I go into the documentation migration stuff is setting up a Tor bridge. So for the folks who are watching this who maybe have access to a Linux or Windows machine that's persistently connected to the network, and you want to help people in countries maybe such as, Russia, where the government of the country might be trying to censor information or prevent access to the broader internet. Tor is a system that kind of helps users route network connections through a whole sort of like Plinko board of other computers until it finally reaches a destination. And Tor is it's an interesting technology. It can be used for all sorts of things, but the reason I'm bringing it up is mainly because of recent moves to prevent people from accessing the broader internet in Russia. So one thing you can do to help out, there are two things actually. One thing you can do if you have access to a Linux or Windows machine that's persistently connected to the internet. Oh, documentation link gives a 404 not found. This one? This gives 404 not found. Let's see here. Is that what you're thinking of? Oh, yeah, these links, if you're asking about these links over here, yeah, these are all broken. I was going to get to that. Don't worry about that. These are definitely broken on this side. I will get to that in just a second. I just want to briefly talk about Tor bridges. So a Tor bridge, as I understand it, is a way for people to access the Tor network without seeming like they're accessing the Tor network. So, normally, someone who's an actor, maybe a state actor that's trying to prevent people from accessing Tor, will block access to like the Tor website and where they can download. Oh, the agenda link. Oh, I apologize. The agenda link's broken. What is going on? Just the 281. Is it not syncing? Come on now. 280. Oh, I know why. I apologize. Here. That's what you're talking about. Let me just send that up. And syncing. And let's see if that worked. I might have to add some text. Or run Snowflake. Hang on. Or run Snowflake. This will hopefully... Wow, yeah. Speaking of, things not going according to plan and no plan survives breakfast. There you go. March 9th, 2000. So that'll work. Sometimes things go wrong on the stream, and that's okay. We make it work. So anyway, a Tor bridge makes it so that people can access the Tor network without necessarily talking directly to the Tor network. Like, it's basically a way of bouncing into the Tor network while seeming to connect to something innocuous. So, if you set up a Tor bridge, it's not like running an exit node where you're the one who's like connecting to the network endpoints that people are trying to access to. It's the entrance node, really, for people who are trying to access Tor. And there's a bunch that goes on and sort of making all that work. But if you're interested in helping out and setting up a bridge, the instructions are actually pretty straightforward. For each instance of a number of distributions of Linux and here on Windows, there's instructions on how you can set up a bridge, and it's quite straightforward. And all you have to do is follow those instructions. You don't have to publish the address anywhere. It all just kind of like takes care of itself. And if that doesn't interest you, if you want to do something else, there's an add-on that you can install inside of Firefox called Snowflake, or you can also install it in Chrome. And what it does is it helps people like route through your browser in order to get connected to the Tor network, I believe. It's a proxy. And if you're curious to know how it works under the hood, you can read more on the documentation wiki. I actually don't fully know, but I trust the people who work on Tor. And so this is an easy way of installing an add-on that helps people access the Tor network. And right now, apparently, I've helped 10 people circumvent censorship in the last 24 hours by using Snowflake. So that's a way you can do that. All right, that's all I wanted to talk about at the start there. Let's briefly talk about documentation migration. So, you may be familiar with developer.mozilla.org. This is a site that, for a long time has existed. It started just as like a wiki for information about developing on the web and also developing on the Mozilla platform. So it had documentation for the internals of Firefox and Gecko. And then not that long ago, I'd say about 2 years ago, there was an effort to try and make MDN, this is what we call this page, more about just web documentation. So we don't want to have like documentation for the internals of Firefox intermingled with web documentation for not just Firefox but all browsers, because that's what happened. Is developer.mozilla.org has become the de facto documentation source for how the web works for developers, really. And many browser vendors are working together to make developer.mozilla.org constantly be up to date, have the latest information. Like, instead of having competing indexes of information or collections of information, it's all in this one place. It's really great. And so in that, thank you very much. I got tea delivery. So nice. Oh, and biscuits. Wow. Thank you so much. It smells delicious. So I just want people to imagine in their minds that they also have some tea and biscuits in front of them, because I think that's, it will help with the ASMR. And maybe here, let's listen. Let's listen as I dip a biscuit into my tea and then take a bite. Are you ready? Here we go. I'm biting into the biscuit. It's very tasty. It's very tasty. There's a dog nearby who's very jealous. Okay. Let's keep going. Not get distracted by the biscuit. Oh, I dropped it. It's okay. I dropped it on my lap. Okay. So all that documentation that was on here on developers.mozilla.org for the internals of Firefox all got archived and put on GitHub. And that's good. We still have it, but it's not very accessible. There's just piles and piles of documentation here, and it's very difficult to get at. There's no great search capability, and even when you find something that you want to read, like say I want to read up on the C++ portability guide, all you get is a raw HTML page. Oh, I guess this isn't a good example because it's just a redirect. But like here, building, is this? Yeah, like you just get raw HTML, and it's not like a great way of sort of consuming the documentation, and that's too bad. But there's something we can do about it, and that is to migrate the useful documentation here to where we've been starting to keep internal documentation for Firefox stuff, and that's at firefoxsourcedocs.mozilla.org. So let me put that in here. So our task today is to, what I'm hoping we can do is I've collected, or some other people have collected, a list of links within Firefox source docs to things that no longer exist. So basically, there are documents like this one using CXX in Firefox code. Let's see if we can find this page. What contributing, debugging here is coding style. How do I find this one? Here, coding style. Using CXX in Firefox code. So this apparently links to something called Mozilla Tech XPCOM Guide Hashtables. So somewhere in here, there's a link to, Hashtables, adaptation of NST hashtables. So let's find a link like this one here. And so there's this link to the XPCOM hashtable guide, and you click on that link, and you go to a 404. Not great. Not great. So my goal, my hope is that we can find some of the original documentation that's been preserved here and migrate it to Firefox source docs and update these links so that we can fix our documentation, because all this stuff is still alive. It's just really hard to get at, and that's terrible for new contributors who might want to know how the heck they use an XPCOM hash table, for instance. So the theme for today is XPCOM. So that's the stuff I'm going to be migrating, stuff related to XPCOM. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to see whether or not we can actually locally build the documentation. And there's a mock command for that. Hang on, let me pump up my font so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so the command is mock doc. And what it does is it's going to build the documentation and then run a local server. And you can build just a subdirectory. You don't have to do the whole thing, and that can help. Presumably, that can help save some time. I actually haven't used the mock doc command in a while, so let's see if it works. What I want to do is I want to find the XPCOM directory, because that's likely where we're going to be adding stuff. So presumably there's an XPCOM, docs directory. Yes, here it is. Let's see if we can build the XPCOM docs locally and then locally serve it, because that's always the first step, right? Before you even start writing a patch is, can you build it? Can you build it? That's really important. It's delicious tea. I'm not sure what people drink, what kind of teas, if people are out there watching and drinking tea, but the kind of tea I like is called Orange Pico. That's quite popular in where I live in Canada, in Toronto. I think that's our default black tea. And I'm curious to know what teas you have out there. Smurfy says, if you build it, they will come. That's exactly right. Documentation is how you make the it's how you make the dream work. Okay, so we built the the documentation locally. So what I'm planning on doing is adding an item under here for hash tables. So let's start by finding the original documentation. So it was under Mozilla Tech XPCOM Guide Hashtables. So we have to somehow find that. And I'm going to migrate the ENUS documentation here. XPCOM, what was it? Tech. Maybe it'd be under Tech. Yeah, Tech. And then XPCOM Guide Hashtables. XPCOM Guide Hashtables. And then there's one called Hashtables Detailed that might be relevant as well. But let's take a look at Hashtables. So here is our document. Great. Now, I could hand modify this to work with, RST. Oh man, sorry, those biscuits are coming back. But there's a better way. Let's see. Documentation. Fab documentation. There was an example of someone doing some documentation recently that I thought was really great. Documentation. The X-ray documentation. So Bobby Holly did this a few months back, and he used a tool called Pandoc, and that's what I'm going to try and use. I'm going to try and use Pandoc, basically these commands, because there's this whole like instruction set here. So I do have Pandoc. Pandoc basically is the Swiss Army knife for doing text file conversion. So let's make sure I've got Pandoc on this machine. I do. Great. And I found the page I want. I'm going to get the raw URL, and then we're going to basically get at it and then write it out. So the raw URL is, let's see, where was it? It was on GitHub. Here it is. We're going to get the raw URL, and we're going to type in Pandoc. Here, let me pump up the font again. Okay. Whoops, moved to the wrong display. I don't know why I did that. I guess the majority of the window was on the other display. Pandoc T, what was it? Pandoc T RST. That's the presumably the output I want to go to, or the type I want to output to. Then it's going to input the HTML, and then we're going to output. I'm going to call it just hashtables.rst, and here we go. Let's see what happens. Whoops! I just realized that I'm in my working directory, so I'm going to move hashtables.rst to projects, Mozilla Central, XPCOM, docs. That's where I wanted that to go. Okay, great. So let's go back to that directory, and we're going to add hashtables. Add hashtables. And then we're going to also look at this thing. Let's open this up, take a look, and see what Pandoc did. Wow, look at all the work it did. It created a table. It looks like Smurf D likes iced tea and some different herbal teas. Now, I'm curious, Smurf D. In the United States, I know that what they call iced tea is different from what we call iced tea up here in Canada. And I wonder if that's the same where you are. I don't exactly know where you live. But in the States, I once ordered iced tea and was given cold tea. And what I think of as iced tea up in Canada is what in the States they call sweet tea, which is, that's what I'm more used to. Okay, so first observation is that we're likely going to need to update or grab the detailed XPCOM hashtable guide as well, and also export that because this documentation links to it. And then we've got like some really interesting. I'm not going to look at the content just yet. I'm going to just kind of like leaf through and see if there's anything else in here that jumps out as like stuff we're going to have to take care of. I don't see any other links, so that's good. I do see some strange characters in here like this. I don't know what that means. We might need to hand remove those. I'm curious to know what those are from the archive content. So it was a few examples was one of the places where, it looks like just an extra space was added. It's like a non-breaking space. Well, I don't see a non-breaking space, but basically there are two chunks of white space, and I guess that's how that got converted. I have a feeling that what's happening here is that we probably just want to remove these. We don't need them. So we're going to go ahead and remove those. In fact, let's just do a search and replace real quick. Find and replace that with that. Find. Okay. Replace all. Done. And then we're going to pump this out a little to fix that up. And let's see if there's something else we need to do to like make hashtables.rst get built into our documentation. So we're going to take an example. We're going to look for, see if there's like any places where hunting leaks is put into our build system. And it looks like no. It looks like maybe xpcom, like the documentation stuff. Yeah, it looks like it'll just know to run the docs rebuild. In fact, did it do it? Let's see. Browser connected. Reload one waiters hash tables. Yes, it looks like it built it. Hashtables.rst. So let's see if we go back to our source documentation here and I reload. Now I don't see it in here. But that's maybe because I didn't add it to the index. There is an index.rst as well. So let's open that up. And in this case, I guess we want to put hash tables. Well, it's not exactly in alphabetical order. Part of me wonders if it should be. You know what? I'm going to save that for another day. I'm just going to put hash tables here. And then let's see what happens when this, I saved, it's rebuilding it, and then, oh, look, it added it, but it also added a bunch of other stuff as well, like the individual sections within the hash tables document. So that's good, but I don't want those other sections. So how do I avoid that? For example, how does hunting leaks avoid this? Does it have a different way of doing sections? Let's find a document in here that has sections. Yeah, like this. How does reference counting helpers avoid this problem? No. What is it called? refpointer.rst. I have a feeling it's this thing right here. That's what's doing it. I'm going to get rid of that. And this, and this, and this. I don't think we want those things. All right, let's go back to here and then reload. No, it's not what we wanted. Browser, hashtable reload. Hashtables. How come ref pointer? Does it need a title at the top? Hash tables. Yeah, that was the problem. It needed a title at the top. So let me put those other things back because I guess they weren't involved at all. And let's see if I can just put hash tables at the top. Let that. Oh yeah, Danny Cole. People are telling me exactly what I need to do. So that's great. Thanks everyone for helping out. Hash tables. Okay, so looking better. Now I'm gonna want to do some scanning of the content first, but I also want to migrate this detailed xpcom hash table guide. So let's also bring that in. And so we're gonna load that up. The raw detailed hash tables. So here's your raw link, and then we're going to use that pandoc trst that, and then We're going to call it Hashtables. Now, what's the convention here for RST files for for like delimiting spaces? Let's see. .rst. It looks like there's a bit of a mixture, some camel case and some dashes. So it really depends. So we get to make a decision here. Let's see if there are other, like some underscores as well. It looks like it doesn't super, like it's not super consistent. I guess we have to choose. I'm going to use an underscore detailed.rst. Okay. So we've got hashtables detailed. Let's add that to the commit as well. And then let's open this file. We're going to get rid of all of these extra spaces. And then we're going to put details on hashtables. I'll say technical details on hashtables. Now, is it normally capitalized like this? I have a feeling it is. Yes, hunting leaks, both capitalized. So we have to sort of like figure out how to link between these two, but that should be pretty straightforward. It doesn't look like this links out to any other documents, so that's good. I'm curious to know. Oh, this is trying to link to like some source code here. I'm curious to know if that would work. I'm guessing I'm very suspicious of that, of its attempts to link to source code. I think we can probably get rid of the original documentation author here. Let's reload this. Let's add it to the index. Hashtables, hashtables detailed. Let that rebuild. So there's this like big conversation in the chat about tea. Pizza says they're in the US, and in the southern US, if you order iced tea, you usually get cold sweet tea by default. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I prefer unsweet tea with lemon, so I have to order iced tea unsweet with lemon. Wow. That's very interesting. That's new to me. Oh, sorry, we're looking at the actual hosted version of this page. So let's go back to our, yeah, here we go. Technical details on hashtables. What would be nice is if we could like kind of nest that underneath. I wonder if it lets us do that. Like if I were to do that, will that nest this? No, it won't. It doesn't like it. That's too bad. That's too bad. Max depth 1. Table of contents tree. Let's just quickly look this up. Nesting. Section numbering, additional options. Okay, it doesn't look like it'll allow you to like change the indentation. All right, that's fine. Now that we have these up, let's take a look at some of the content here and see if any of this is still relevant. So yeah, let's figure out how to link back and forth between two different documents, because I think that's important. Let's find an example. Do they have links in any of these other documents to, yeah, here we go. Oh no, that's to log levels. Check nvlogger, no. String guide. So this is interesting. They're linking here to SearchFox, and that I think it makes sense for any of the places where we're doing source source links. Maybe we should use that. Class reference. Here we go. XCOM string guide class reference. That's an inter-document link. I want like a intra-document link. I want like between documents. I can't remember if it's inter or intra. Internet. I want inter-document links. Come on. I could probably just look this up instead of just hunting for. Oh, perfect. Right here. This is what I want to do. I have it open too, hunting leaks. So yeah, you can link this way. It's almost like Markdown, but not quite. Okay. So, and they've got like an extra underscore there. I don't know if that's necessary. Looks like just one underscore is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like that. The detailed hash table guide. And then I wonder if I can just do like a relative like hash tables detailed.html. Will that work? It does. Awesome. Okay, now we need to make it work the other way around. So we're just gonna say, you know, instead of long version, we're gonna say xpcom hash table guide. So I need to just sort of change the link here at the end. We can get rid of this extra underscore. We're gonna change the link to be hashtables.html, and that's that. And so if I reload this page, hooray, we've got our links set up. Great. Let's work on hashtables.rst first. So we'll start reading this together. So this is a simplified version of the detailed XPCOM hash table guide. Everything you need to know is probably on this page. Also note that mfbt hashtable.h now exists. One thing I actually will note is that some of the spacing here is a little awkward. I'm gonna use what's a rule? I want like a word wrap column, 80 character word wrap column. No, I don't want to wrap. I want to see it. Word wrap column. I want a ruler. That's what I want. Okay, and then so what I'm gonna do is just gonna fix this up. Okay. Everything you need to know is probably on this page. Also note that mfbt hash table now exists, is a lot faster than the xpcom hash tables due to more inlining and templating, and the API is arguably better. So we did all this work. Are there xpcom hash tables still? Because maybe we don't have hash tables anymore. Let's find out. Face pointers, xpcom keys for a hash table, anything. So like, yeah, what are PLD, Mozilla's hash table, ST, low level wrapper. Which hash table should I use? Oh wow, this is all broken. NSI supports hash key. That sounds like an xpcom hash table. NS class hash table. So it looks like NSI supports hash key still exists. It looks like there is still some hash table stuff inside of XPCOM. So, for better or worse, that's good. Because it means we didn't waste our time. NST hash table. Okay. Keep reading. What is a hash table? A hash table is a data construct that stores a set of items. Is this the correct way of formatting? Like emphasis? Yes, each item has a key. Maybe we should read it in this format, actually. Each item has a key that identifies the item. Items are found, added, and removed from the hash table by using the key. Hash tables may seem like arrays, but there are important differences. Keys. For an array, so what we have here is like a comparison between, you know, these columns and these rows. I'm going to fix this formatting by bolding these as well, and then getting rid of the colons. I think this will work. Let's just do a quick test. If that worked, yeah, there we go. Keys. So we can replace that. We can do that. Oh, we have to do 2 of them. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. Sorting. And then down here. Oof. Kind of busting out. We might actually have to expand this whole table. So we might have to move all this stuff out a little bit. The good news is that Sublime makes that relatively straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Something like that. And then we can, here we go. Move this back and move that back. And then we're gonna add our I use insert. How do I use insert mode in Sublime? Come on. Insert. No? Come on. Edit. Insert mode. There's got to be a way of doing that. Insert, like, oh, that's the lyrics to Fight for Your Right to Party. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to have that in front of you. So I just wanted to have that in a document, I guess. So, insert mode. Yeah, other stuff that doesn't matter. Okay. Insert. Is my insert key just not working? I guess not. Oh well. That's unfortunate. Okay. We're going to do the old-fashioned way. In fact, actually, I can probably do it all at once. Shift. There's a way for me to, like, multi-select. Oh, man. I don't have the cool moves. But there is a way to do it. Okay, so our tables are in better shape. Got rid of the colons, bolded those things. Let's read this through now. So the keys are, for an array, the keys are an integer. Arrays are always keyed on integers and must be contiguous. I guess that's true, yeah. Any type for a hash table, almost any data type can be used as a key, including strings, integers, XPCOM interface pointers, IIDs, and almost anything else. Keys can be disjunct. You can store entries with keys 1, 5, and 3000. Lookup time of an array is O of 1. lookup time in a hash table is O of 1. It's mostly constant, but the constant time can be larger than an array lookup. Sorting, sorted, iterated over in a sorted fashion. Unsorted, stored unsorted, cannot be iterated over in a sorted manner. Inserting or removing, it's O of n, because adding and removing items from a large array can be time consuming, whereas with a hash table, it's an O of 1. Adding and removing items from a hash table is a quick operation. How much wasted space for an array? None. Arrays are packed structures, so there's no wasted space. There is some wasted space with a hash table because they're not packed structures. Depending on the implementation, there may be significant wasted memory. In their implementation, hash tables take the key and apply a mathematical hash function to randomize the key and then use the hash to find the location in the hash table. Good hash table implementations will automatically resize the hash table in memory if extra space is needed or if too much space has been allocated. When should I use a hash table? Hash table. So far, this is all. So far, it seems pretty relevant. Seems still up to date. So I think we can keep it. When should I use a hash table? Hash tables are useful for sets of data that need swift random access with non-integral keys or non-contiguous integral keys, or where items will be frequently added or removed. Hash tables should not be used for sets that need to be sorted. There are a couple of semicolons here that I think we can get, like, I don't know why we've got this sort of weird semicolon, semicolon, then period, semicolon, semicolon, and then period for the last item. I think we can get rid of that. Very small data sets, data that does not need random access. In these situations, an array, a linked list, or various tree data structures are more efficient. So which hash table should I use? The appropriate hash table class to use depends solely on the data type. The template specialization to use depends on the data type and the key type. So if there is none for a hash set, data type, none for a hash set. There's no data type. That doesn't make any sense. Is the ST hash table still out there? Come on, search box. Get it together. Am I still on the internet here? All right, good. NST hash table. Where's an example of this being used? NST hash set. New NST hash table. Here, loader by rate entry. This is under web audio stuff. So what are you putting in? A float. Oh, I see. Right. So the key doesn't have a type. The key doesn't have a type. That's what it's talking about. So there's, in this particular case, we're using the map really as a set where we like make sure that there's a uniqueness characteristic by using a hash set. Okay. The data type of the key, I think, is what's important here. So the template specialization used depends on the data type and the key type. I say data type of the key. Data type, none. I.e. for a hash set, use NST hash table. Simple types, numbers, booleans, etc. use an NS data hash table. Structure classes. So for, do we have NS data hash table still? We should maybe always double check. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have that anymore. Did we at some point have NS data hash table? Let's look back into the past. Let's look at ESR 91. So not in ESR 91. What about in ESR 60? We did have the NS data hash table in ESR 60. Okay. What about in ESR 78? Yes, we did. And then, so between 91 and 78, it got removed. Let's see if we can find a file that still exists, that would have been touched whenever the hash table was removed. Let's see, something that's unlikely to have changed much. Maybe widget, base widget. Here, this line here, for S saved observers. Switched to using a hash map. This was back in bug 1634281. Make NS data hash table a type alias. Remove unused NS data hash table includes remove NS data hash table. Okay, so we can get rid of NS data hash table. And what are people using instead? They're using what are they using now? Widget. Base widget. They're using NST hash map. Okay. An NST hash table. I think I looked for this. This still exists, right? That one does, I believe. Yes. Yes, it does. Okay. Structure classes. NS string, custom defined structure classes that are not reference counted. NS class hash table. Does this still exist? Yes, it does. Reference counted concrete classes. NS ref pointer hash table. Yes, that still exists. And interface pointers. NS interface hash table. Yes, that still exists. Okay, so we've updated that documentation. Smurfdy says, in the first table in the second column, first table, second column, do you really need that comma there before the and? First table, keyed on integers. Yeah, you're right, we don't need the comma there. I actually don't know if we need the comma here, i.e. for a hash set. Okay. Each of these classes is a template with two parameters. The first is the hash key and the second is the data to be stored. There are a number of built-in hash keys available in nshashkeys.h. Does this file still exist? Yes. The more useful of which are listed below. So, let's see how we do linking to SearchFox now. SearchFox .rst. You just, I see, you just do an external link like that. Okay, so we're gonna say like that, and then a space, and then curly or angle brackets, and then an underscore after. So we're gonna put our link to NS hash keys here, and not a permalink, unfortunately, because we don't want people to get out of date. So we just kind of have to hope that this stuff doesn't die out, or if it does, people patch this documentation. At least it'll be in the documentation. Like, if people end up changing the source or like removing NS hash keys, because this documentation is in the source tree, if they do a search for NS hash keys, this will be a result. So they'll be able to find it and keep it up to date, and that's good. Okay, let's take a look. What have we got now? Got our link to SearchFox. Okay, the more useful which are the ones below. So let's see if these are still up to date. Some of these look pretty old. NS pointer hash key, I don't know. Let's look at let's follow the link we just added. Yep, that exists. C string hash key. Yep. uint32 hash key. Yep. uint64 hash key. Yep. As pointer hash key. Huh. Yes, and as pointer hash keys.h. NSI supports hash key. Yes. And nsref pointer hash key. Yes. Okay. There are a number of more esoteric hash key classes in as hashkeys.h, and you can always roll your own if none of these fit your needs. Make sure you're not duplicating an existing hash key class, though. Once you've determined what hash table, are we always calling the hash table one word, or do we ever do that? Okay, good. Hash table and hash key classes you need, you can put it all together. A few examples: a hash table that maps UTF-8 origin names to a DOM window. NS interface hash table, NSC string hash key, NSI DOM window. Yeah, that one exists, right? I think we looked that up. Yeah, okay. A hash table that maps 32-bit integers to floats. uint32 hash key, float. A hash table that NS data hash table has been moved, or it doesn't exist anymore. So we'll do that. 32-bit integers to floats. A hash table that maps NSI supports pointers to reference counted cache entry, or pointer hash table cache entry. A hash table that maps JS context pointers to a context info struct. A hash set of strings, as hash table and a string hash key. Yeah, okay. Hash table API. The hash table classes all expose the same basic API. There are 3 key methods: get, put, and remove, which retrieve entries from the hash table, write entries into the hash table, and remove entries from the hash table, respectively. The hash tables that hold references to pointers also have get weak methods that return non-addref pointers. All of these hash table classes can be iterated over via the iterator class and cleared via the clear method. Great. Looks good. Looks good, people. So I'm pretty happy with that documentation. Let's take a look at the detailed one. We'll actually pull it up in here. What is a hash table? A hash table is a data construct that stores a set of items. Each item has a key that identifies the item. So this looks very similar. Do we need this other document? Sets of data that needs Swift for anyway. Hash table implementations. I guess this is new. And this is basically this, I think. Although I think we need to sort of pick apart what this table originally looked like, and then it like describes different underlying hash table implementations. Future plans. We should probably get rid of that. The obsolete NS hash table has a wrapper that exposes an NSI simple enumerator. I'll add the support to the various base hash table classes as well as needed. This is B. Smedberg who wrote that. Okay, so from way back in the day. Let's take a look at what this I think we can probably like get rid of this, because this is basically repeated in this document over here, right at the very top. They're the same thing. It's almost like these were the same document and then they kind of forked. And I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. So what I'm going to recommend is we just get rid of them. And we're going to update. This is for details. Technical. I'm gonna call this instead technical. For technical XPCOM hash table details. For more deeper internal. Well, what do I say here? For a deep dive into the underlying mechanisms that power our hash tables, check out technical XPCOM hash table. Check out the technical XPCOM hash table details document. MFBT hashtable.h. Does this still exist? It does. It is a lot faster than the XCOM hash tables due to more inline templating. The API is arguably better. Okay. And so this is called technical XPCOM hash table details. I will say XPCOM hash table technical details. That makes a better title. And this is a deep dive into the underlying mechanisms that power the XPCOM hash tables. If you were looking for a guide on how to use these hash tables, consider reading XPCOM hash table guide instead. So it has several hash table implementations. Okay. I also, again, this table, I want to know what originally this looked like. So let's pull up the original source. That's this. We're gonna just do some really hacky and drop it into this. I see. And what we had before was data type on the left here, hash table class on the right. Key type, data type. Oh, I see. It's a matrix. It's like a decision matrix. I think we can simplify this. So what they're saying is, like, if you don't have a data type and you're trying to store an integer, you can use this. If you data type of what you're trying to store and the type of the key. You're trying to store a string. Okay. Is there ever a situation where we'll want to store something differently based on the data type? I guess if you're using an integer key, they're telling you like which construct to use for the templating. I think we can get rid of this because I think this table kind of does the job already here. Which hash table should I use? So let's get rid of this table. Okay, let's keep reading. I think we're just going to do these two documents today. I don't think we're going to get very much farther, but that's okay. Mozilla has several hash table implementations which have been tested and tuned. Come on, which have been tested and tuned and hide the inner complexities of hash table implementations. PLD hash. Low-level C API stores keys and data in one large memory structure, uses the heap efficiently. Client must declare an entry class and may not hold on to entry pointers. PL hash table. Low-level C API. Entry class pointers are constant, more efficient for large entry structures, often waste memory making many small heap allocations. NST hash table, a low-level C++ wrapper around PLD hash, generates callback functions and handles most casting automatically. Client writes their own entry class, which can include complex key and data types. NS data hash table, like we said, is gone. So we have to replace that with, what was it? NST hash map. High-level C++ wrappers around PLD hash. Is that true? NST hash map? Is that using PLD hash under the hood? NST hash map. It's two. Where are my results? How come my results aren't showing up, y'all? NST hash map. Oh, NST hash map. NST hash map. I thought there were 4 results. 1. Okay. So what is this thing? Key class. Oh, the actual definition is in NS hash tables forward.h since it's a type alias. Okay. Does this thing use PLD hash? Yeah. I think so. Hash table, ref counter class. Counter hash table. Base hash table. This base hash table is extends NST hash table. Pointer hash key. All right, I actually don't know if this extends PLD hash. Like interface hash table, where's that? Where is it? Definition. I want the definition of interface hash table. Here it is, I guess. Which is a ref count hash table, which is again of base. I don't know if this is true anymore. High level C++ wrappers. So I'm going to get rid of that. Simplifies the common usage pattern mapping a simple key type to a simple data type. Client does not need to declare and manage an entry class. NS data hash table is a scalar such as PRUint32. Now that's a type we don't have anymore, so I'm going to use a different example. Like a uint32. And how do we represent that? window paths. Window ID, which is a Uint64T, yeah. Oh, whoops. Uint64T. It's an interface. XPCOM interface as class hash table is a class pointer owned by a hash table. PLD hash is a fairly low-level implementation. PLD hash, where is that? Just don't want to publish. I don't want to publish incorrect information, people. PLD hash implementation is a fairly low-level implementation written in C. Is this C? It looks like C++ to me. It's extremely flexible, but requires some time to understand and use. A basic guide is included, but you should read most of XPCOM glue PLD hash. XPCOM glue doesn't exist anymore, y'all. PLD hash.h. The C++ wrappers for PLD hash. Oh man. Like, does this? I think a lot of this doesn't exist anymore. PL hash table does though in NSPR. I don't know what PLD hash table is, or PLD hash. I don't think PLD hash exists. I think we have PLD hash table, but no PLD hash. I'm getting rid of this. Is a part of NSPR. The header file can be found at plhash.h. Does that still exist? Yes. So let's link to source code. Found at plhash.h. plhash.h. In general, PLD hash, I don't think that exists anymore. I got rid of PLD hash. In general, makes many heap allocations. There are two situations where PL hash table may be preferable. NST hash table is a C++ template that wraps where PL hash table may be preferable. You need entry pointers to remain constant. The entries stored in the table are very large, larger than 12 words. NST hash table is a C++ template that wraps PLD hash. It hides many of the complexities of PLD hash. Is that? I don't think that's true anymore. To use NST hash table, you must declare an entry class in a predefined format. Line 65 of NST hash table. Declare an entry class. This entry class contains the key and the data that you are hashing. The template parameter is the entry class. You must declare an entry class. This entry class contains the key and the data that you are hashing. Maybe we should show an example. example, st hash table. This entry class contains the key and the data you are hashing. I guess loader by rate entry is a entry class. Let's declare an entry class. This entry class contains the key and the data that you are hashing. It also declares functions that manipulate the key. In most cases, the functions of this entry class can be entirely inline. For examples of entry classes, see the declarations of nshashkeys.h. Entry. Yeah. To see, so we're going to link to that as hashkeys.h. The template parameter is the entry class. You must use the init function to initialize the table properly. Is that still true? NST hash table. Init. I don't think that's true anymore. There is no init. After construction, use the functions put entry, get entry, remove entry. Put entry, get entry, remove entry to alter the hash table. The iterator class will do iteration, but beware that the iteration will occur in a seemingly random order, no sorting. SD hash tables can be allocated on the stack as class members or on the heap. Entry pointers can do change when items are added to or removed from the hash table. Do not keep long-lasting pointers to entries. Because this ST hash table is not inherently thread safe, if you use a hash table in a multi-thread environment, you must provide locking as appropriate. This base hash table, see if it will work for you. That does exist. They are much easier to use because they do not have to declare an entry class. If you are hashing a simple key type to a simple data type, they're generally a better choice. Okay, so far so good. Reload. As base hash table and friends, data hash table does not exist anymore. What did we say it was? It is hash map, NST hash map. These C++ templates provide a high-level interface for using hash tables that hides most of the complexities of the underlying implementation. They provide the following features. Hash table operations can be completed without using an entry class, making code easier to read. Optional thread safety. The hash table can manage a read, write, lock around the table. Predefined key classes provide automatic cleanup of strings and interfaces. Interface hash table and class hash table automatically release delete objects to avoid leaks. Base hash table is not used directly. Choose one of the 3 derivative classes based on the data type you want to store. The key class is taken from as hash keys. Did we already link to that? ns hashkeys.h. Yeah, here. It's taken from and is the same for all three classes. NST hash map. Data type is a symbol type such as PRUint or PRBool. Give me a better example. Key type. Key simple type such as uint 32T or a bool. Interface hash the interface X counter as NSI DOM node. NSI DOM node, is that still barely? So NSI doc shell. Class hash table, it is any C++ class. The hash table stores a pointer to the object, deletes the object when the entry is removed. The port files to read our base hash table and hash keys.h. So let's link to base hash table.h. Where is that? Here. ns base hash table.h and such. These classes can be used on the stack. All right. And this class can be used on the stack. Initialize using the init function. There is no init function. Thread safety locking thread hash keys as hash keys lock thread. I'm just gonna get rid of that part. Using a hash table as a hash set. Hash set only tracks the existence of keys, does not associate data with the keys. This can be done using as hash table and as some hash key. That's the hash table. That is in agreement with here. Yeah. Okay. Appropriate entries are get entry and put entry. Gonna get rid of future plans. All of the above hash tables need a hash function. This function converts the key into a semi-unique integer. The Mozilla codebase already contains hash functions for most key types, including narrow and wide strings, pointers, and most binary data. And then there's a bunch of stuff in here. nscore.h. For real? Cast using as pointer to int32. I see. And we can create a table. Key type hash function void or NS supports. Then they want you to use as pointer to int32 char star. They want you to use char star string, use NSCRT hash code. Doesn't exist. xpcom ds. CRT. CRT exists. Hash. There's no hash in here. Hash code. xpcom. No. Yeah, I'm just going to remove this entire function, or this entire section. I don't think, a bunch of this I don't think is relevant anymore. Okay. I think I'm going to put this up for review. I think let's just double check, make sure it looks okay. Okay, let's put this up for review. Yeah, okay. Commit. Oh, we have to make sure there's a bug filed. And I think there is a tracking bug. Meta documentation. Migrate documentation. Move xpcom. Okay. I'm going to file a bug that blocks this. New migrate hashtable documentation from MDN archive to Firefox source docs. Oh, and then we need to, of course, update the things that were broken. So docs code quality, these things, this right here, this file was pointing to the wrong thing. So it was pointing to guide hashtables. And this needs to point instead to xpcom. What would it be? xpcom slash slash performance slash xpcom slash hashtables, I guess. Let's update these. Table guide. Any other places? Okay, so let's rebuild this code. So it's under docs code quality. So I'm going to rebuild the whole thing. Mock doc. Whoops. Mock doc. This is going to rebuild the whole thing. Semicolon after around the table. Around the table. Yeah. You're right. Let's get rid of those. And let's continue filing this bug. What was the file? The using CXX in Firefox code.rst documentation links to the now broken MDN documentation for XPCOM hash tables in multiple places. I retrieved that the hash table documents from the MDN archive, used pandoc to convert them to RST, and tried to scrub out outdated information that I was aware of. Hopefully someone who uses our hash tables and knows more often and knows about how they work under the hood, knows deeply how they work deeply under the hood, can take a look and make sure I didn't miss anything. Original documents. I'll post the links to those here. What was the first one? Just hash tables. Raw. Yeah. Still building. Got to build all of the documentation. And then we're going to call it a day, people. We're going to call it a day. Hey, I know this was... there's a question here from Jonathan Lindsay. The question is, could a website be written in this way? How configurable is the layout? That's a great question. I don't actually know. We're using something called Sphinx to generate the site, and I think it's like designed for doing documentation for source code. Now, that's not to say that there aren't tools for doing something similar for like a general website. I don't think Sphinx is probably what you want to use. You might want to use something, just a general, what's called a static site generator. And there's just like a bunch that you can choose from. For example, for the Joy of Coding episode guide, this is a static site that's hosted on github.io. If my network will let me go to here. This is a site that's got links to all these sort of like subdocuments and whatnot, and it's using Jekyll under the hood. So Jekyll is a static site generator written in Ruby. So there you go. That's an option for you. I would suggest using that rather than something like Sphinx, unless you're writing like documentation for source code, in which case Sphinx is a pretty great choice, although I do find the RST markup language rather cumbersome and non-obvious. I do personally prefer Markdown. I guess I'm just really used to it. Okay, let's build this out, make sure that the C++ stuff links correctly, and then we'll put it up for review and call it a day. Maybe while we're waiting for that, let's see if we can find a good reviewer. Who is someone who has touched the hash map stuff recently in a significant way? Well, actually, there was a bug, this one, and it was Simon Gisecki. And Nika and Eric Rom reviewed this. I wonder if Simon Gisecki is still around. Let me see if they're still active on Bugzilla. Hang on. Just one moment. Okay, we might want to ask Nika instead. Or maybe Smaug. Or Peter V. Okay. Oh. This didn't work. Why didn't it build properly? Oh, the address is... Right, I've already got a server running. Man, I hope it doesn't have to build this all again. Go through that whole process again. That'd be a pain. Man. A lot of errors and stuff. Hopefully, it cached some of the output, and so it doesn't have to regenerate all of it. Let's go here. Let's go. Come on. All right, I'm gonna give this one more minute before I just call it. Staging. It's creating a bunch of RST files. Config file. Come on, just run the server. That's all I want. Oh, Smurfy says happy version 100, by the way. Yeah, Firefox desktop nightly, anyways. Nightly just updated to Firefox nightly 100. So that means that in 8 weeks, approximately, give or take, Firefox 100 will be released to general audiences, which is very exciting. If you want to try Firefox nightly 100, you can go to nightly.mozilla.org to download a copy and use that. Download right here. And that's a great way of getting a sneak peek at what's going on and what we're working on. It is unstable. It's a testing and development platform, and by default it sends a bunch of like technical telemetry our way to make sure that it's stability and whatnot. But if you don't mind that stuff, try Nightly. It's good stuff. I use Nightly as my daily driver. It's never really been a problem. It's a great way for me to make sure I'm on the bleeding edge, and I get to try out all the new stuff. And it also means I get to catch bugs with any new stuff and report it early, and that's really helpful. If you're interested in maybe not running such a... Again, it's not that risky, but if you're feeling a little like you're not willing to try a browser that updates twice a day, beta updates once a week, and that is quite a bit more like stable. You get like once or twice a week updates, and you still kind of get ahead of the pack opportunities to try stuff out before it gets released to the general audience. So there you go. You can try beta or you can try Nightly. Wow, this is taking a lot longer to build than I thought. I was really expecting this to not be nearly as expensive a proposition. I'm going to give this 30 seconds. I'm going to check the audience to see if there are any questions. Maybe there's someone who wants to ask questions about the documentation or Hashtables or Mozilla or Firefox or anything like that. I'll just poll the audience. Okay, looks like the... Oh, come on. Serious? Is this normally what it takes to like build all the documentation? This is wild. I just want one progress bar. Tell me when it's done. Okay. Getting up there. Almost 60%. Okay. Just over 60%, almost 70. We're just over 70%. We're going to get to 80 in a couple seconds here. Just crossed 80%. Getting up to 90. 86%. Gecko driver notarization, testing perf docs running. Write that output. Okay. All right. Now run the server. Hooray. Okay. So what did I want to test? It was like C++. Or it was like CXX, using CXX in Firefox code. So I'm going to... It's under code quality. So I'm going to use that. There we go. And hash table. Sorry, let's zoom out a little. See the XPCOM hash table guide. Yay, it links correctly. That's all I wanted. Now, before I commit, there's one last thing we need to do, which is to make sure that we run the linting step, which I believe is mock lint dash whatever that is, RST. So we quit out of that. Let's shut down the server. We're gonna lint our RST. Oh yeah, let's not lint the entire repository. Let's lint xpcom docs. No problems. All right, let's roll this up. So this is this bug. Migrate xpcom hash table documentation from MDN to Firefox source docs. And let's ask Nika to look at this. Okay. Submit tip. And that's it. We're going to call it there. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for watching episode 282 of The Joy of Coding. We were able to basically migrate 2 documents, one of which isn't even on this list, so we only really did one from this list. We might do more of this from week to week, because I think this is really, really useful, and it gets me to learn more about like how things have changed. And it's good for new contributors who maybe need to know, for example, how to use a hash map. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching episode 282 of The Joy of Coding. Let me know what you thought. There's a link in the agenda here to rate this episode. I'll even drop that link into the Twitch chat right now if people want to fill it out. Rate this episode link. Go ahead, send me your comments, and I read everything that comes in. You can send me your questions, and I'll try and answer them during my next episode. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great day. I hope it goes really, really super well for you. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.